That's where we want to be. If I'm a school teacher and I got a group of kids in a classroom, I want to be in executive state so I can serve my students best. If I'm a first responder, I want to be in executive state because otherwise I have tunnel vision, tunnel hearing, tunnel thinking, and I miss stuff. I'm in more danger. I don't serve my community. I'm potentially putting myself or my partners, my crew at risk. So we got to be in executive state when we're working as a first responder as much as possible.
San Diego 911 emergency. You need to come right away. There's a man with a gun and it's loaded. Receiving emergency signal from 4 George 1141. Got a white female down. We need paramedics code please. All available units roll code that way.
Welcome to the De-Escalation Conversations Podcast. With me today is a really, really cool guy who I've gotten to know over Zoom. I've never actually met him in person, and I hope to do that pretty soon and shake his hand, give him a big old hug, just because he's a great guy. Brandon Mehrgut, and he has over a decade of experience in the field of meditation training. You know, a lot of times we talk about all sorts of different types of training. Well, today we're going to be talking about meditation. Brandon is the founder and managing director of Modern Mindfulness, which is a company that helps humans take a real world approach to meditation. He is also a lead meditation trainer and a certified mindfulness coach who has trained organizations and individuals in mindfulness, mental effectiveness, and compassion. And that's sorely missing in today's world. That's the C word, compassion. Brandon is passionate about developing the long-term habit of mindfulness, creating mindful communities around the world, working with law enforcement, and helping fellow mindfulness teachers increase their impact by better sharing their message with the world. He has a global reach along with a local touch, as he is fluent in Chinese, certified by renowned experts, and a lover of, you're going to help me, I can't talk this morning, Brandon, you're going to have to help me out with the pronunciation of this. Renzai Zen?
Close.
Renzai Zen and Jiu-Jitsu?
Yes.
Awesome. He leads an international team in Austin, Texas that covers the U.S., Europe, and China. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. You did very well.
I appreciate that. You put me right back into executive state just by that compliment. I appreciate that. So I was blessed to be introduced to you by a friend of mine whose name is Gagan. And I've spent a lot of time with Gagan, talking to him, and he just raved about you and said, hey, you guys got to meet. And he did an introduction. And I love how the world, the universe, God, spirit, whatever your higher power is, brings people together. And as soon as I started chatting with you, I immediately knew you had to be on the podcast, because I want other people to know about you in the schools and first responder community that we serve here at IDEA. So, Brandon, tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get into this whole meditation thing? Because, you know, it's starting, I will say this, school teachers probably been way ahead of first responders on this. But in the first responder community, military, police, fire, medical services, we are starting to see more and more and more mindfulness stuff come in, which is having a really profound impact. And everybody in the communities that we serve, school teachers and first responders, they need this mindfulness approach. They need some answers to deal with the overwhelming amount of stress that they're facing. So tell us a little bit about your journey, what brought you into the space, and then what you do with it.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the great introduction. When I was about 19 years old, I started my self-help journey, self-improvement journey. And I got to say, it was like drinking water through a fire hose. in terms of the world of self-improvement, where the hell do you begin? There's so much out there. And then when you throw spirituality and religion into the mix, it can be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And I grew up very traditionally in South Louisiana. And when I started that self-help journey, I was just totally overwhelmed. And I thought, what is the simplest thing I could do to start to attempt to be a better human being? And the idea of just watching my mind gravitated towards me very deeply, and just practicing basic mindfulness meditation, which is watching the breath or watching the mind. And about 23, I knew that I wanted to face my fears of abandonment, actually. My father's from Cuba. He came to New York at 12 alone, and he had to fight basically to defend himself because he got picked on, didn't speak English. And then he learned judo, got a black belt in judo, which got me into jiu-jitsu, and he grew a business. And I wanted to go to the other side of the world to face that fear of abandonment and also go towards my love of Eastern philosophy. And very early on in that journey, about 9 months in, I wound up in the Himalayan mountains, studying more meditation, studying more yoga. And from there, I spent about 5 years in that region of the world. It was north of Laos and close to Myanmar in Burma. The province is called Yunnan province in China. That's the beginning of the region of the Himalayan mountains. Same thing, I lived there for a long time learning Chinese with a lot of interesting people. And I thought, where's the fear? Where is the one thing that I'm afraid of doing? So I'm from South Louisiana at the time, with population 6,000. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go to Shanghai. That scares the crap out of me. Let me go check that out. So I moved there. First month really sucked. It was extremely hot. Very hard to find a place to live in Shanghai. 25 million people, you don't know one person. It was super intense. And about a month in, I started to go to networking events. And at that time in my life, I was writing about just general self-improvement. I was writing about what I loved, and I supported myself via just like Google ads on the blog. It was a very simple blog. When I got to Shanghai, I started to go to professional events to network. 9 out of 10 times, people ask me, "Oh, you write about meditation?" I said, "Yes." "Do you practice meditation?" I said, "Yes." "What are the benefits?" I said, "Well, it helps me become calm, helps me have less stress, more self-awareness." And then after the third or fourth person that I met in a very high-pressured city, he asked me the question, "Could you teach me?"
Mm.
Absolutely, very happy to. So I started teaching. I ended up teaching for free about 1,000 people in 1 year in Shanghai and growing communities there. Then I asked myself the question, who's done this that I could model? Who's a mentor? Somebody who teaches me. Hard to find a new problem in life somebody hasn't already faced and succeeded with. So I ended up getting a job at an organization called Potential Project, the corporate mindfulness training organization. And basically, they taught me the most professional way, in my view, to portray meditation. So I started working with a lot of executives, Fortune 500, Lego, Disney, Sonos, Chevron, worked with the New Orleans FBI in New Orleans. And they taught me a different way of portraying meditation and more of an executive, high-pressured environment. Worked for them for about 4 years, came back to America 3.5 years ago, and I thought, my God, there's so many mindfulness teachers here now. So popular, more so than it was a decade ago. It's great. There's a peace army here. And I started training those mindfulness teachers in entrepreneurship and leadership. That was my full-time job for about 3 years straight. And then I pivoted more towards teaching the general public, and also I work with a lot of coaches, a lot of executives. And I absolutely love working with mindfulness teachers, meditation teachers, and the general public. But by and large, our goal is sharing meditation with 10% of the US. And that's the vision. And sometimes the strategy of the vision will always change, but the vision stands true. So that's really what I'm about. And I'm not naive to think, okay, the whole population is going to be meditating. Like, hey, go for a walk. And just when you're walking, just walk or write and just write or read and just read or smoke a cigar if that's what you're into. But when you're doing it, don't scroll on your phone. Just be in the moment. Meditation's great. Do that. But really empowering people to practice more metacognition, more awareness of mind. And that's really what we would like to see society look like in the future. This is what separates us from all the other animals in the animal kingdom. I know there's a lot, but I want to kind of give you a lot to pick from. So.
Yeah, no, that's what an amazing journey. So a couple of quick things. How far from Nepal were you?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say it was probably about 6 hour drive.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
wasn't
the
too
reason I
far.
ask is this. You mentioned the Himalayas. Um, I have set an intention. So back in 2018, I went to a 10-day silent retreat. First one I ever did. And people ask me, they're like, so did you do like a 1 day or a 3 day or a 4 day silent retreat before you did 10? I'm like, no, I freaking just jumped right into a 10-day. And it was in England, just a couple hours outside London. Beautiful location. Well, I found out that they have one in Nepal. And I have no idea, but I'm like, I'm going. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if it's going to be in 2024 or it might take until 2025. I'm waiting for the announcement to come out for openings. But
Mm-hmm.
it's so when you talked about that, I'm like, hey, that's where I want to go. So
Send me the info. I'll go with you.
all right, dude, that would be so much fun. We couldn't talk to each other, but we can talk while we travel there and back.
10% of communication is the words coming out of your mouth.
There you go. Good point. Good point.
Yeah, I'm
And
always
one of
going
our
to Asia, so I'll be in China this month. So
Yeah, you had mentioned that you're going to be traveling back there. How long do you think you'll be back in China for?
about a month.
Okay, that's awesome. So, did you learn to speak Chinese when you went there the first time, or did you know before you went, or how did that work out?
I got all kinds of goofy stories. I'll share one. I think people would appreciate it. First of all, I'm not a big fan of Rosetta Stone. That was what that's what I like. I pay like $200 for Rosetta Stone. The first sentence was, "I like to go swimming." I'm like, this isn't helping me. I just moved to China. Like, 我喜欢游泳. That's not helpful
When am
for
I
me.
ever going to use that phrase? That's funny.
Yeah. So basically, I moved to China not knowing Chinese. I could say, hello, I don't want it, and fried rice. Suffice to say, the first week, I ate a lot of fried rice. But basically, I wanted to know how do you say? Like, that was the one thing I wanted to know how to say. And my cell phone didn't work at the time. I couldn't just like open up my smartphone and search this stuff because
Right.
like the internet wouldn't work. That was 13 years ago. It wasn't as easy. So I had this one big Canadian friend, super nice guy. I said, you just got to teach me how do you say? I can say it's cup, it's headphones. And he didn't teach me how to say, how do you say? He said, this is how you say, He said, shima isa. And that is, what does it mean? But I thought it was, how do you say? So he was like, let's go practice your Chinese. He took me to the market and he would smoke a cigarette and kind of watch me. And in China, most people at that time were smoking cigarettes. And he points, said, go talk to that lady. You have to really say it with a lot of enthusiasm and go pick up that banana and ask her, how do you say banana? So I go pick up this banana to this lady and I go, what does it mean? What does it mean? And he was like, say it louder. He can't hear you. What does a banana mean?
Yeah,
So,
because if somebody doesn't understand you, that means you got to shout at them, right?
correct, right.
Oh, it's
So that
funny.
went on for a whole month,
Oh
and
my God.
I
He
got a
was
lot
just
of free
punking you.
bananas. Yeah, I got a lot of free bananas, got a lot of free candy. I was the village special person.
They're
But
just
yeah,
they're just
that's how I
trying to
learned
get you to
Chinese,
go away, aren't they, at that point?
pretty much. But yeah, that's how I learned Chinese, and it's a great language. You know, I'm always a forever student of learning that language. It's almost 1.4 billion people speak it. So
That's so cool. So when I learned to meditate, which I kind of dove into it right before I went on the silent retreat. I figured if I'm going to be doing this for 10 days, I ought to kind of know what I'm getting into. And then, of course, they teach you during the retreat. When you and I talked before, one of the things I learned this one method of meditation, and it wouldn't work for a first responder on duty. Well, maybe a firefighter, but certainly not a police officer on duty, and certainly not military working, because the method of meditation I learned was to close your eyes and concentrate on the breath going in and out of the tip of your nose,
mhm,
and just focus only on that, and any other thoughts that come in, just acknowledge them, and you know, yes, I'm having that thought, and release it. Or
mhm,
if depending if how I'm sitting, oh, my knee's starting to cramp, or my butt's starting to get a cramp in it.
mhm.
Acknowledge, okay, my butt's getting a cramp in it, and let it go. That was the method I learned. Well, that doesn't work if you're in the middle of a 10-hour, 12-hour shift as a police
Mhm.
officer, as an example, and you need to like bring it down a notch because you've been to call to call to call to call to call, and you're stressed out, and you're like, if I have to deal with one more freaking idiot, I'm
Mhm.
going to lose my mind, which is not
Yep.
going to go well, because today it's going to be on body cam, or somebody's there with a
Right.
video, so their phone or something. You taught me that there's a way to meditate with your eyes open,
Mhm.
and I'd never heard that before. As to me, that was wild. So, can you kind of dive into that just a little bit for us?
Yeah, sure. Uh, the Zen vision. Um, we don't live our lives with our eyes closed.
Mm,
And when one sits in meditation, it's like we're starting a fire. We have some warmth, and then we leave the meditation behind after it's done. We go live our life. Meditation is this training for life. It's warrior training. And I want to go back to Rinzai Zen just for a moment, because there's two types of Zen. There's Soto Zen and Rinzai Zen. And this is it's be interesting for your listeners, because Soto Zen was for the lay people. It was for regular monastics and lay people. And a long time ago, legend has it that the samurai were very interested that the monastics were not afraid of death.
mm,
And the samurai, as the story goes, asked the monastics to teach them meditation. I reckon that they said, "You're going to teach us meditation." And that birthed Rinzai Zen. So it's samurai Zen, it's warrior Zen. It's very different. It's a little bit more theatrical, it's a little bit more intense. In both schools of Zen, they practice meditation with the eyes open. In Rinzai Zen, we're a bunch of troublemakers, pretty much. It's impatient Zen. Both take about the same amount of time. I'll go back to your question is we live our lives with our eyes open, and to be mindfully aware of what's happening in the present moment with zero reactivity, aware of everything and reacting to no thing is really the goal of meditation, and developing this 360-degree vision. So developing situational awareness behind you, above you, beside you, in front of you, and having your awareness go up behind you, having your awareness go up beside you in zero reactivity, being extremely, extremely aware of the environment and what's happening, but not reacting to it. Now, this would be a freaking amazing skill for law enforcement and first responders, and even just a regular security guard. I saw the security guard at a store just walking around, bored out of his mind. I'm like, oh, what a perfect moment to practice meditation, walking. And there are a lot of different ways to ease into meditative awareness. And you're not at all cutting off what's happening. You are saying yes to what's happening. You're being more aware of everything than you ever have been before. The difference is that there's zero reactivity, or very, very little reactivity. One of the ways of doing that, which are many, is being aware of the feet on the ground.
Okay.
Touching the
So
ground.
I want to pause you there just for a second. So Brandon, you just said some really, really cool stuff. And I just want to, the reason I wanted to pause you for a moment is I wanted to take a step back, and because you just completely blew my mind. You were talking about the samurai warriors and how they were realizing this other group of people, they weren't afraid of death.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a special significance there. Not just that they're not afraid of death, but a calmness, a relaxation, a lack of fear that comes along with that. And the reason I wanted to really emphasize this for our listeners is anybody who's been listening to the podcast has heard me talk repeatedly. And it's our core foundational principle. Your mind can only be in one of two states. It can be in executive state or it can be in survival state. Survival state, fight, flight, or freeze. And a few of the other F's, we just keep it simple, fight, flight, or freeze. That's a negative emotional state. Fear causes you to go into survival state. Executive state, where we're at right now, we're relaxed, our prefrontal cortex is online, we're able to connect with each other, have rapport, have empathy for other people, be creative, do problem solving, all of those great things that really make life fun and enjoyable to live. That's the absence of fear. So when you said, yeah, the samurais, which clearly top-notch dudes, they're the special forces of the day, they were looking at others to learn something from them because they weren't afraid of death, the absence of fear, which means they were more in executive state. And like I say, you just blew my mind, because that's where we want to be. If I'm a school teacher and I got a group of kids in a classroom, I want to be in executive state so I can serve my students best. If I'm a first responder, I want to be in executive state, because otherwise I have tunnel vision, tunnel hearing, tunnel thinking, and I miss stuff. I'm in more danger. I don't serve my community. I'm potentially putting myself or my partners, my crew at risk. So we got to be in executive state when we're working as a first responder as much as possible. And so I want to take a step back to this, we're not afraid of death thing, and how the meditation keeps us in this executive state, because it frees up our mind from distracting thoughts. Can you kind of wrap that all in? I hope I didn't overload you there.
You could try to overload me, but you may not.
But you're mindful, so probably not. Okay,
It's my job to not be overloaded.
Thank you.
So I'll say something that one of my Zen teachers taught me a while ago, and the most powerful person in the room is the one who is most aware. I'll say that again.
Yeah.
The most powerful person in the room is the one who's most aware. Aware of all things and reacting to no thing. So if it's not skillful to say the word to yourself, meditation, use the word awareness. Are you aware of yourself, your body, where it stands, where it's sitting? Are you aware of what's happening in front of you? Are you aware of what's happening behind you and not reacting to any of it? And there are a couple of ways to do that. One is being aware of where you're standing and just the actual contact of your feet touching the ground and feeling that and using that as an anchor to your awareness. The other one, the first one is quite simple. You're aware of the sensations on the ground that your feet are walking. The other one is more dynamic, and some of your listeners might really like this one more. Vision is about 180 degrees. Predominantly right in front of us, this is like maybe 100 degrees. 180, we have our peripheral vision. You can widen your vision up right now, just as you're looking at the monitor, be aware of your peripherals simultaneously. Now, sound is way more interesting, in my opinion, because it's happening 360 degrees above and below. And sound is happening in space where the vision can actually go. And being aware of sound and the nature of it and the on and offness of it can be a meditation in and of itself. You can be enlightened just by listening to all sounds around you. And there's two ways of doing that. One is noticing the on and offness of the sound. Here it is, here it isn't. Even the space in my words that allow them to exist. If there were no space in my words, they would not exist. Same thing with the sounds around you is if you understand the impermanent nature of sound, not conceptually, but intuitively from your direct experience, knowing that it's coming and it's going, what happens is that the mind shifts from judging to non-judging. So you're not reacting to all of these sounds. So just noticing that it's coming on and off. The second is noticing where sound is occurring. So if sound is occurring far behind you, there's a siren in the distance, noticing that that is a space behind you and noticing where you are in relation to that space, becoming aware of this spaciousness. This is situational awareness. Or when I was training United States veterans, they like to say the observation point in your sphere of awareness and practicing becoming aware of what's coming into your sphere of awareness. And by noticing where sounds are in relation to you, and also noticing the impermanent nature of that. What will happen is that as you're practicing this, noticing these sounds, you're going to fall back into thought and problem solving. When that happens, bring awareness back to sound, bring awareness back to the sensation of sound, the location of sound, and where that's happening. And just that in and of itself would substantially help folks become more aware of what's happening. Even let's say you're in New York City. Can you know the furthest sound away from you? Can you know the closest sound to you? What maybe is the distance between you and that sound? So these are different practices that one can use with the eyes open. And these are practices that were originally taught in ancient Tibet. And I'm paraphrasing, some of them are called traditionally Mahamudra. One of the great teachings that I first learned was seeing your vision and actually understanding how far out your vision can go and noting what your vision is actually placed upon and where your vision is coming from. So we also call this the U-turn. So vision is going out and then it's coming back in and you're aware of what you're seeing. But by and large, the point of all of these explanations, whichever one sticks with folks, is being the most aware person in the room and using the senses to be in a place of zero reactivity, zero fear, zero stress. And what may come up in all of the chaos is unreasonable joy, or maybe a little bit of calm, maybe a little bit of peace. It just depends. So you don't necessarily have to sit in meditation to be in this executive state or this aware state. It could just happen in an instant. You just have your listeners play around with sound and see where that goes. And some of them may have some insight. Oh, I can't believe I'm just noting the frequency of sound coming and going. Another more basic meditative technique that isn't about situational awareness, it's just tactical breathing and taking a breath. Box breathing has been around for a very long time. A lot of your listeners probably know about it. I love box breathing because it is a mnemonic. What is the best tool that you have is the tool that you have on you. The best camera you have is the camera you have on you. You see, so box breathing is great because it's 4 inhale, 4 pause, 4 exhale, 4 pause, 4 times, 4, 4, 4, like a box. And I think that was coined by the United States Coast Guard, I believe, or it may have been the Navy SEALs, one of the two. But it was a military technique to learn to remember, to come back to the breath, to come back to the sound or awareness. We also say sometimes in Zen, the balcony, taking 2 steps back in Zen, seeing yourself from above. When in doubt, zoom out. See yourself from above. See everything that's happening from above, like an eagle looking back upon its nest. You're the nest. And taking a step out. This is not de-association. This is, on the contrary, becoming more aware than you ever have been before, and using the senses to get out of the mind, to get out of this fight, flight, freeze, response state. Practicing this as much as possible, even if it's just a minute a day. So, hey, that crazy ball guy, he said something about being aware of sound. Okay, let me just give this, let me have a little curiosity and just see what the further sound is. Let me just try that 4-4-4 thing. And just doing that a minute a day, it'll change somebody's life in a moment.
One of the things you just shared so many amazing points in just a couple of minutes. One of the cool things I like about what you said was, try for a minute a day. We're not asking for a 10-day commitment. You're saying just 1 minute.
100%.
Just think about sound for 1 minute. One of the things that I've been teaching for quite a while is, the mind is a very amazing predictive device. It's always looking to predict what's going to happen in the future. That's why you have conversations in your head about anticipated conflict, and then you never end up having that conversation ever. You literally wasted a lot of time and bandwidth thinking about what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's living in the future. When you live in the future, that's fear. When you're living in the past, when you're reliving moments and you're thinking, I wish I would have said that. And by the way, the reason that you didn't think to say that is because your prefrontal cortex, your PFC, was shut off because you were in survival state. But when you're thinking about past things and you're like, I wish I would have done that differently, or gosh, it was a horrible decision I made. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, not always, because you can have happy memories, but a lot of times, vast majority of times, we're living in regret. So when you're in the past, you're in regret. When you're in the future, you're in fear. Brandon, what you're teaching us is to be fully present, which is living in joy. You used a term a little bit ago, and I've heard you use this term before. And tell me if I got this wrong. Unreasonable joyfulness?
Unreasonable joy.
Unreasonable
is-
joy. That's
Yeah,
freaking amazing when you think about it. It's like, what a great way to live.
for no reason.
For no reason. Just be happy. Just
Yeah,
be not just happy, joy. Joy is
yeah,
different than just
right.
happiness.
Yeah,
There's a playfulness in that in that in the connotation of joy
it's
is
deeper.
is, is just
It's,
different. I don't
it's
know. That's just
deeper.
my
Happiness is a tide. It's an emotion. It comes and goes. Joy, when the 10,000 things become 5,000 things, and 5,000 things become one thing, and the mind starts to settle, what's left over is boundless, unreasonable joy. And society is so twisted that I could walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, how you doing?" They might say, "Well, not so great." Why? No reason, really. I hear you. I hear you. "Hey, how you doing?" "I'm amazing. I'm so good." Why? No reason. What's wrong with you? So we're conditioned to be like that. But one could experience joy for no reason once we are in the present moment. And we're not, as you said, in the fear of the future or regret of the past, but we're being aware, easing in just by taking a breath, or just by being aware of sound, or by being aware of the feet touching the ground, walking for a moment, for a minute. I got into meditation when I was 19, and on a Saturday, I would try to meditate for 30 minutes and say, "Oh, this shit don't work." But then one day I said to myself, "You know what? I'm just going to do 3 minutes a day." And that totally changed my life. And even just saying, I'm going to intentionally be aware for 1 minute a day and just see what happens. You might be surprised.
yeah. And for our listeners, as we wind this episode up here pretty quick, I want to offer a suggestion. In our advanced training, one of the things that we teach is what I often refer to as the driveway reset exercise. And that is when you pull into your driveway before you go into your home. If you're going into your home and nobody else is there, what you're doing is you're keeping your home, your sanctuary, your castle pristine by not dragging stuff into it. If you have other people in your home, cohabitants, family, friends, roommates, it doesn't matter what the level of relationship is. You're preparing yourself to deal with them for you being the best person possible when you walk in the door. Once again, keeping your home, whether it's an apartment or a house, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a hotel room. I spend a lot of time on the road. I literally will do this when I pull into the parking lot of a hotel. And I take just a minute or two. And Brandon, this would be a perfect time for somebody to do that exercise that you just spoke about, where they're taking a moment and just going, okay, what we teach is, how do I want to be when I walk through that door? What do the people inside want me to be? Do they want me to be some grumpy person who just dealt with call after call after call after call, or they grumpy school teacher because I just had a rough day with the kids? Or do they want a loving partner, husband, wife, whatever you are when you're walking in that door? And again, even if you're by yourself, keeping that sanctuary pristine. So if you're going to meditate, and I highly recommend that you do what Brandon suggested, even just taking a minute, that's a great time to do it. And the other time to do it is when you pull into the parking lot of wherever you're working before you begin whatever your shift is. Whether it's 24-hour shift as a firefighter, medic, a school teacher, you're getting ready to start your school day, law enforcement, military. Being able to do that right at that beginning before you launch in. Again, you, as you serve people through your work, being able to serve them as the best person possible.
I love this. And I want to just give your listeners one tangible tool for that. Is I love this driveway exercise. It's brilliant. And everybody can remember that. The most useful tool is the one you can remember, is just to be aware of 10 breaths. That's it.
That's
When
easy.
you pull up, that's easy. When you pull up, just be aware of 10 breaths for a moment, and then walk in. Do what you have to do, but do it with presence by being aware of those 10 breaths. That's a great starting point for a lot of folks listening.
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things we say about our teachings at IDEA is that they're easy to understand, they're easy to remember, and they're even easier to implement. 10 breaths, Brandon. What a powerful gift. Thank you so much for being here. Listeners, in just a moment, as Brandon gathers his thoughts for any last comments he has before we wrap this show up, in the show notes, if you've been watching the video, you've already been seeing Brandon's contact information flashing up on the screen several different times. If you're listening to this, know that you can follow Brandon at several different places, one of them being his LinkedIn page, the website. All of this information is going to be in the show notes. So just know that you'll have those resources at your fingertips. Brandon, before we wrap up today, do you have any last thoughts, things you want to share?
Just take 10. That's it. Start simple. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for being here. And one other thing I want to highlight that you said, I choose not to be overloaded. Powerful, my brother. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. As the Robin Hood of public safety, taking wisdom from those that have it, which is you, Brandon, and giving it to those that need it, the school teachers, first responders. Thanks for being a part of that process. Thanks for helping me be a successful Robin Hood. And certainly today that happened. For our listeners, go to theidea.world, idea.world. There's tons of free resources there. Make sure that you're subscribing to this podcast as well as our newsletter, which comes out every week and has curated, specially selected articles just for you. Until next time, as always, stay safe. I hope you found a lot of great value in this episode of the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. Please be sure to go out to our website, theidea.world, theidea.world. On that website, just click on the link that resonates with you most. If you're a K-12 educator, if you're a firefighter, medical services, law enforcement, flight attendants, whatever industry you're in, we have specialized training for you. So check that training out, because literally it can save your life, it can save your relationship, it can save your career. So check out theidea.world. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. This is Kerry Mensior, and thanks for watching this episode of the De-Escalation Conversations podcast. I hope you got some great insights that you can use right away. But don't stop here. Click that video link above and keep the momentum going with another powerful episode. And hey, if you haven't already, please hit that like button and the subscribe bell so you never miss an episode. New strategies, new stories, and new ways to connect coming your way every week. See you in the next episode.